Hey everyone, and welcome back to House of Mystery. Today I want to talk about a great classic mystery movie, The Ghost and Mr. Chicken. This is honestly one of my favorites of all time. It stars Don Knotts, which we will get into that a little bit later, one of the things that makes it so great. From 1966, it's about an hour and a half long, and it is just your typical classic, wholesome mystery movie. There's no gore, there's no violence, there are some pop-out scares. It's a great movie to watch for Halloween because it has just that right element. You can watch it with your kids, you can watch it with your family. Like it's a perfect mix of so many things. Before we get into the age of today, where you don't see a whole lot of comedy mystery combination movies, and so I think that this makes it really special. And you don't have to worry about a lot of violence or bad language, profanity, bad scenes, stuff like that. So despite all the good that just from the movie itself, I think putting all of those things into the mix makes it an excellent choice for a mystery movie. As mentioned, the lead role is played by none other than the great Don Knotts. We probably all know him from The Andy Griffith Show, where he played Deputy Barney Fife. He did a fantastic job. That show had 8 seasons, but he was only in the first 5 of them. Now, I read that in a 1999 interview, he said this was because Andy had said in the beginning that he would not do the show longer than 5 years. So Don Knotts thought, well, I've got to set myself up for the rest of my career. So when that time was coming and they were getting close to the 5th season, he signed this deal that he would go and he would start making movies. Well, then the Andy Griffith Show decided to continue and went for 3 more seasons, but he had to honor that movie deal. And I think he was glad that he was also exploring some other avenues as well. But he did have at least an amicable leave from the show. And while I hate that he left the show, I am at least glad that The Ghost and Mr. Chicken was one of those movies that came out of that. But it is so important to me to really know and appreciate the character of Don Knotts, because if you read this kind of one sentence synopsis that you find on most places of the internet of what the movie is, it sounds good, but then when you realize that Don Knotts is the character they're talking about, you realize, okay, this is going to be elevated and be even better. It says a timid typesetter hasn't a ghost of a chance of becoming a reporter until he decides to solve a murder mystery and ends up spending a fright-filled night in a haunted house. So first of all, if you like mysteries, you have somebody who is spending a night in a haunted house, they're trying to solve a murder mystery, and there's the word ghost in here. So that also gives you this certain eerie element. But then when you realize that that's Don Knotts, you're like, oh, okay, this is going to have that Don Knotts quality to it. So there is some slapstick comedy in there, where of course he's getting scared to death and shaking and tripping over things and things like that, which honestly, normally I'm not a fan of. But in this, it works for me. It works when it's Don Knotts. He and really Dick Van Dyke are the only ones that get away with that for me. But it really works and it adds to the show or the movie. And another thing is all of the characters who are in this. It helps when you are Don Knotts and you have an array of friends to really pull from. I am sure that had something to do with the people who were in this movie. I mean, I don't know, I'm just guessing. But you have Dick Sargent, who played one of the husbands on Bewitched, who does a great job. He has a role in this. Retta Shaw, who plays in lots of things. Charles Lane. You just have so many characters that you see, and you're like, oh, I saw him in Andy Griffith, or I've seen him in all of these old shows that I watch. You have the guy who plays Otis on the show. He shows up as well in the movie in like the first 5 minutes. And so it's really nice to see some of those familiar faces, and they all do a really great job in their roles in the movie. So this mystery is set in Rachel City, Kansas. It is a fictitious place, and Don Knotts plays Luther Heggs, this typesetter for the Rachel Courier Express. Of course, he wants to be this reporter, but nobody takes him seriously. And one night when he comes in frantically saying, there's been a murder at the Simmons mansion, it proves to be not true, that there's just this local drunk who's been knocked out by his wife. The local drunk, of course, played by Otis from the Andy Griffith Show, which I thought was a really nice touch. And so, of course, everybody makes fun of him, especially the full-time reporter, Ollie Weaver, who's like his arch nemesis, wants to make him look as bad as possible. So, of course, Ollie is not happy when it's Luther who gets the chance to go spend a night in the house on the 20th anniversary of the murder-suicide that apparently happened in that mansion. But what happens when he goes into the mansion and all of that just are what really brings it into that classic mystery element for me. So, is this going to be on a list of the top murder mystery movies or mystery movies of all time? Probably not. It all depends on the genre that you like. But it is just such a fun mystery movie, and it's so wholesome, and it has all the classic elements of, a dark and stormy night and this mysterious mansion. Everything that I love in a cozy mystery, this movie has. And so if you're into that, I would highly, highly recommend this if you haven't seen it. And if it's been a while since you've seen it, I promise you, it has not lost its luster. You can turn it on again at any time, and it's going to be just as good as always. But please let me know what you think. Check it out. Enjoy it. Check it out with your family. This is definitely one of those movies for sure. Let me know what you think. As always, thanks again for watching. Stay mysterious and have a great day.